Life has a funny way of lulling you into a false sense of security. My marriage was like that. Comfortable, predictable, almost boring. But boring isn't bad, right? I used to think it was the hallmark of stability. We had our routines, our traditions, like Thanksgiving at her parents' house every year. It was our thing. I'd kiss her goodbye in the morning, she'd smile, and I'd head off to work, knowing exactly what my day would bring. That's how it was that morning. I left for the office, a little annoyed at the stack of paperwork waiting for me, but mostly content. I told myself I'd be back in time for dinner, toasting with her parents and pretending I enjoyed their dry turkey and awkward small talk. In my mind, everything was fine, normal. But looking back, I can see the cracks that were there all along. The way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes anymore, the late-night texts she'd brush off as work-related, the sudden interest in going out with her friends more often. I ignored it, chalked it up to midlife restlessness, on her part and mine. After all, we'd been married for 15 years. Things were bound to settle into a rhythm, right? I'd been content, or maybe just complacent. Even at those family dinners, I felt like an outsider sometimes, but I told myself it didn't matter. They were her parents, her family, and I was just the husband. They liked me well enough, but I knew I'd never really be one of them. And that was okay, as long as she and I were solid. So, when the call came from my boss telling me I had to catch an earlier flight for a last-minute meeting across the country, I wasn't too worried. I packed my bags, kissed her goodbye, and told her I'd see her at dinner. She barely looked up from her phone, just nodded and said, "Be careful," like she always did. It was supposed to be a quick trip, in and out, but life had other plans. The meeting was canceled as soon as I landed. I was annoyed, sure, but mostly relieved. I'd get to surprise her, show up early, maybe even catch her off guard. Maybe that's what we needed. A little spark, something to remind us both of what we had. I didn't call ahead. I wanted to see her face light up when I walked through the door. But as I drove back home, something felt off. And not in my stomach, a sense of unease I couldn't shake. I tried to ignore it, to focus on the road, but it only grew stronger the closer I got to her parents' house. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed her car, parked crooked, like she'd been in a hurry. My heart started to race, though I didn't know why. I took a deep breath, telling myself it was nothing. But deep down, I knew something was about to change. Forever. I walk up to the front door, keys jangling in my hand, heart pounding harder with every step. The excitement of surprising her has shifted into something else, something darker, gnawing at my insides. The house is quiet, too quiet for a holiday gathering. The knot in my stomach tightens as I push open the door, stepping into the warm, familiar foyer. The smell of roasting turkey and baked pies fills the air, but there's an odd tension, like the calm before a storm. My footsteps echo on the polished wooden floor as I move through the hallway. I pass the dining room, where the table is set with her mother's best china, but it's empty. My pulse quickens. I head toward the living room, the source of muffled voices and laughter. I pause just outside the doorway, listening. Her voice, light and teasing, floats through the air, followed by a deeper, unfamiliar chuckle. My heart skips a beat. I step inside and the scene hits me like a freight train. There she is, my wife, perched on the lap of a man I don't recognize. His hands are bold, sliding up her thigh under the hem of her dress. Her head is thrown back in laughter, her hand resting on his chest in a way that's too familiar, too intimate. My world tilts. I freeze, the air sucked from my lungs. My brain struggles to catch up with what my eyes are seeing. She doesn't notice me at first, too wrapped up in him, in whatever moment they're sharing. And then, as if sensing my presence, she looks up. Her eyes meet mine, and in that split second, everything changes. Her laughter dies, replaced by a look of horror. She scrambles off his lap, but it's too late. The damage is done. My mind reels, trying to make sense of it, but the betrayal is too stark, too raw. I want to scream, to hit something, anything, but I can't move, can't breathe. The man stands, hands raised as if to show he's unarmed, but there's a smugness in his eyes, a challenge. He's tall, broad-shouldered, and confident in a way that makes my blood boil. My wife steps toward me, hands outstretched, pleading, but I can't hear her over the roar in my ears. "Mark, I can explain," she says, her voice trembling, but I don't want to hear it. The words barely register as I take a step back, away from her, from them. Explain? How do you explain this? How do you justify sitting on another man's lap in your parents' house during a family gathering? My thoughts are a chaotic mess, a storm of anger, hurt, and disbelief. The man, her lover, doesn't say a word. He just watches me, like he's sizing me up, waiting to see what I'll do. My hands clench into fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms. I could hit him. God, I want to hit him. But I don't. Instead, I turn on my heel and walk out, leaving her calling my name, begging me to come back. Outside, the cool air hits me, but it does nothing to calm the inferno raging inside me. I keep walking, past the driveway, down the street, away from the house, away from them. My mind races, thoughts colliding in a furious jumble. How long has this been going on? How could I have missed the signs? And what now? I don't stop until I reach the small park at the end of the street. I slump onto a bench, staring blankly ahead. The scene replays in my mind on a loop, her on his lap, laughing like she didn't have a care in the world, like I didn't exist. My stomach churns, bile rising in my throat. I feel sick, betrayed, and utterly humiliated. For a long time, I just sit there, numb, trying to process what I've seen. The anger simmers beneath the surface and growing hotter with each passing minute. I want to go back, to confront them, to demand answers, but I know I can't. Not yet. I need to think, to figure out what to do. But one thing is clear, this isn't something I can just forgive and forget. They've crossed a line, one that can never be uncrossed, and they will pay for it. The thought of revenge is like a spark in the darkness, igniting a new resolve within me. I get up from the bench, mind made up. I won't go back to the house, not tonight. Instead, I head to the car and drive. I don't know where I'm going, but I need to put distance between me and that house. Me and them. As I drive, my mind starts to clear, the initial shock wearing off, replaced by cold, hard determination. I know what I have to do. The first step is to gather evidence. I need to know everything, how long this has been going on, who this guy is, what they've done behind my back. I can't just accuse her. I need proof, undeniable proof. My mind races with possibilities. There are ways to get what I need, even if it means getting my hands dirty. As I drive aimlessly through the city, I start forming a plan. I know a guy, an old friend from college who went into private investigation. We haven't talked in years, but this is what he does. Cheating spouses, dirty secrets, the whole 9 yards. I'll call him in the morning, get him on the case. If she thinks she can fool me, she's dead wrong. The thought of them together makes my skin crawl, but I force it down. I need to stay focused, keep my head clear. There's no room for emotion now. That will come later. Right now, I need to be smart, to think like a man with nothing left to lose. Hours pass before I finally pull into a hotel parking lot. I check in, paying cash. No need to leave a trail just yet. In the room, I collapse onto the bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind races with 1,000 thoughts, but one thing keeps coming back, over and over. Why? Why would she do this? We were happy, weren't we? Or was that just another lie? Sleep doesn't come easy. When it does, it's filled with nightmares. Her with him, laughing, touching, betraying me over and over. I wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, and the anger is back, stronger than ever. I can't let this slide. I won't. The next morning, I'm up early. I don't waste time. I pull out my phone and make the call. "Hey, it's Mark. I need a favor." The voice on the other end is groggy, surprised. "Mark?" "It's been years." What's up? I need your help. It's serious. Can you meet me? There's a pause, then, yeah, sure. Where? I give him the address of a diner a few miles away. We agree to meet in an hour. I hang up, feeling a sense of grim satisfaction. This is the first step. The first move in a game that I intend to win. When I walk into the diner, he's already there, nursing a cup of coffee. He looks older, a little rough around the edges, but still sharp. He sees me and waves me over. Mark, man, it's been a while. Yeah, I say, sliding into the booth across from him. I don't bother with pleasantries. I need you to find out everything you can about my wife and the guy she's been seeing. His eyebrows shoot up. You're serious? Dead serious. He leans back, studying me. All right, I'll take the case. But you know this isn't going to be easy or cheap. I don't care, just do it. He nods, pulling out a notepad. Give me everything you know about him. What does he look like? What's his name? I shake my head. I don't know his name. I only saw him once last night. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair. That's all I've got. He scribbles down the details, nodding. Okay, I'll start digging. But you need to be careful, Mark. This kind of thing can get messy. I don't care about messy. I care about the truth. He looks at me for a long moment, then nods again. All right, I'll get started. I'll be in touch. I leave the diner feeling a strange mix of emotions. Part of me is relieved that the wheels are in motion, that I'm doing something. But another part of me, the part that's still in love with her, is devastated. I don't know if I'm more angry at her or at myself for not seeing this coming. The days that follow are a blur of waiting and planning. I go back to work, pretending everything is normal, but inside I'm seething. Every time she calls, I force myself to answer, to act like nothing's wrong. It's hard, especially when she asks when I'm coming home. I make excuses, telling her I'm still tied up with work. She sounds disappointed, but there's something else in her voice too. Relief, maybe? I don't go back to the house. I can't. Not yet. I tell her I'm staying in a hotel to be closer to the office, and she doesn't question it. I can't tell if that makes me feel better or worse. Then one night, I get the call I've been waiting for. I've got something for you, my friend says. His voice is grim. I feel my heart skip a beat. What is it? Meet me. Same place. I hang up, my hands trembling. This is it. The moment of truth. The drive to the diner feels like it takes forever. My mind races with possibilities with what he's found. When I finally walk in, he's sitting in the same booth, a folder on the table in front of him. I slide in across from him, my eyes locked on that folder. What did you find? He pushes it toward me. It's all in there. You're not going to like it. I hesitate for a second before opening it. Inside are photos, text messages, emails. Proof. Undeniable, irrefutable proof that she's been cheating on me for months, maybe longer. My hands shake as I flip through the pages, my heart breaking with every new revelation. I don't say anything for a long time. I can't. My mind is a whirlwind of anger, pain, and a deep, crushing sense of betrayal. I've seen enough. I close the folder and look up at him. What do you want to do? He asks quietly. I stare at the folder, at the evidence of my wife's betrayal, and the answer comes to me, cold and clear. I want to destroy them both, I say, my voice low, steady. He nods, understanding in his eyes. All right, I'll help you, but be careful, Mark. This kind of thing, it can eat you alive. I don't care, I reply, the anger burning bright inside me. They need to pay for what they've done. And with that, the game begins. I leave the diner, the folder tucked under my arm, and step into the night. The anger, the pain, the betrayal, it's all fuel now, driving me forward. They've taken everything from me, and I'm going to make them regret it. This isn't just about revenge. It's about justice, about making sure they understand the consequences of their actions. They've crossed a line, and now there's no going back. As I drive away, I feel a grim satisfaction settling over me. The plan is in motion, and soon they'll both see what happens when you betray the wrong man. I glance at the folder on the seat beside me, a small smile curling my lips. They have no idea what's coming, but they will. They'll know soon enough. The days blend into one another as I throw myself into the task of gathering evidence. My friend, the private investigator, works tirelessly, feeding me bits and pieces of their sordid affair. Every new detail feels like another knife in my back, yet I crave it, need it to fuel the fire burning inside me. My love for her has turned into something darker, something I can barely control. Each night I sit in my hotel room, surrounded by photos, text messages, and emails. I study them, memorizing every word, every look, every touch they shared. The images of them together are seared into my brain, but instead of breaking me, they harden my resolve. I will make them pay for this. As the evidence piles up, I begin to piece together their affair. It started months ago, probably around the time she became more distant, more secretive. I was a fool not to see it sooner. They met through mutual friends at some charity event I couldn't attend because of work. He's older than me, successful and well-connected. A smooth talker with a reputation for getting what he wants. And what he wanted was my wife. The rage inside me bubbles over every time I think of him, of her with him. But I force myself to stay calm, to think clearly. This is a game, and I can't afford to lose. I need to be smart, to stay one step ahead of them. They don't know that I know, and that gives me the advantage. But she's starting to notice my change in behavior. She asks more questions, her voice laced with concern, or maybe suspicion. "Are you okay? You seem different," she says one night when I finally answer her call. I can hear the worry in her tone, but I'm beyond caring. "Just busy," I reply curtly, my mind elsewhere. I've been keeping my distance, using work as an excuse to stay away from home. The less she sees me, the less likely she is to suspect anything. But I know I can't keep this up forever. She tries to pull me back in, reminding me of what we used to be. "I miss you, Mark. We haven't spent any real time together in weeks. Come home," she pleads. The words should sting, should make me feel guilty, but all I feel is cold. Soon I lie, knowing full well that I have no intention of coming home until I'm ready to drop the bomb on her. She senses the distance, the walls I've built between us, but she doesn't push. She doesn't dare, not yet. I spend my days planning, thinking of every possible scenario. How will she react when I confront her? Will she deny it? Try to turn it around on me? I rehearse the confrontation over and over in my head, imagining every word, every movement. I want to catch her off guard, to see the shock and fear in her eyes when she realizes her little secret is out. But there's one problem. Him. The more I learn about him, the more I realize he's not just some fling. He's dangerous, well-connected, and not the type to back down easily. If I go after him, there could be serious consequences. But I can't just let him walk away unscathed. He's taken what's mine, and he'll pay for it. My friend warns me to be careful, to think about what I'm getting myself into. "You're playing with fire, Mark. This guy, he's not someone you want to mess with." "I don't care," I snap. "He deserves what's coming to him." "And your wife?" he asks, his tone cautious. "What do you want to happen to her?" I hesitate, the question catching me off guard. I want her to hurt, to feel the same pain she's caused me. But deep down, beneath the anger and the betrayal, there's a part of me that still loves her, that still wants to save her from this mess. I hate myself for it, but I can't help it. "I don't know," I admit quietly. "I just want her to know what she's done. I want her to regret it." "She might already," he says, leaning back in his chair. "But you need to think about what you want in the end. Revenge is one thing, but after that, what's left?" The question lingers in my mind long after the conversation ends. What do I want? Do I want to ruin her life, to watch her fall apart? Or do I want to salvage something from the wreckage of our marriage? I don't have an answer, not yet. As the days go by, I start to notice small changes in her behavior. She's more attentive, more affectionate, as if she's trying to make up for something. I catch her watching me when she thinks I'm not looking, her eyes filled with something I can't quite place. Guilt, Fear? Maybe both. She doesn't know I've been watching her too, following her every move. I've become obsessed, tracking her daily routine, looking for any sign that she's still seeing him. But she's careful, almost as if she knows I'm onto her. She avoids the places they used to meet, changes her schedule, keeps her phone close at all times. It's like a game of cat and mouse, and I'm determined to win. But the more I watch, the more I start to doubt. Is she really still seeing him? Or has she ended it, hoping to patch things up with me? I can't tell, and it drives me crazy. The uncertainty gnaws at me, making me question everything I thought I knew. Then one day I get the proof I've been waiting for. My friend sends me a video, grainy but clear enough to see what's happening. She's with him again, meeting in some secluded spot, far from prying eyes. They're talking, but I can't hear the words. I don't need to. The way she looks at him, the way he touches her, it's all there. The betrayal laid bare for me to see. The anger returns, hotter and more intense than ever. Any doubts I had, any lingering feelings of love or forgiveness, evaporate in an instant. This is what she's chosen, what they've both chosen, and now they'll face the consequences. I call my friend, my voice cold and determined. It's time. I want to confront them. He hesitates. Are you sure? Once you do this, there's no going back. I'm sure, I reply without hesitation. They've had their fun. Now it's my turn. We make a plan, one that involves a public setting where they can't escape or deny what they've done. A family gathering seems fitting, the perfect place to expose their affair in front of everyone. I want her to feel the shame, the humiliation of being caught, and I want him to know that he's not untouchable. The days leading up to the confrontation are a blur of preparation and anticipation. I go through the motions at work, barely able to focus on anything but the plan. At night, I lie awake, my mind racing with possibilities, with the image of her face when she realizes it's all over. When the day finally arrives, I'm ready. I drive to her parents' house, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. The family's all there, gathered around the table, laughing and talking like nothing's wrong. She greets me with a smile, but there's something off about it, like she's trying too hard. We go through the motions, the small talk, the forced smiles. I can barely keep it together, knowing what's about to happen. But I wait, biding my time, watching her every move. She's nervous, I can tell, fidgeting with her napkin, avoiding my eyes. Maybe she knows what's coming, or maybe she's just afraid I'll find out. Either way, it doesn't matter. The truth is about to come crashing down on her. And then, just as dessert is being served, he arrives. Her lover, bold as ever, walking into the house like he belongs there. My blood boils at the sight of him, but I keep my cool. This is it, the moment I've been waiting for. She sees him and freezes, her eyes widening in shock. She wasn't expecting this, wasn't expecting him to show up here, of all places. The room falls silent as everyone turns to look at him, confused by his sudden appearance. "What are you doing here?" she stammers, her voice shaky, but he doesn't answer. His eyes are on me, a smirk playing on his lips. He thinks he's won, thinks he's untouchable. I stand up slowly, all eyes on me now. The room is thick with tension, the air heavy with anticipation. I can feel her eyes on me, pleading, but it's too late for that. I think it's time we all had a little chat, I say, my voice calm, controlled. The room is silent, everyone watching, waiting. I pull out the folder, the one I've been carrying with me for weeks, and toss it onto the table. "Why don't you tell them, honey? Tell them about your little affair." The words hang in the air, heavy and damning. She pales, her eyes wide with fear, as she looks from me to the folder and back again. "Mark, please," she whispers, but I shake my head. "No more lies," I say, my voice cold. "It's over." Her parents look at her, confusion and disbelief etched on their faces. Her father is the first to speak, his voice gruff and angry. "What's he talking about?" She opens her mouth to respond, but no words come out. The room is suffocatingly silent, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Then her lover speaks, his voice smooth and confident. "It's true," he says, his eyes never leaving mine. "We've been seeing each other for months." Her father stands up, fury blazing in his eyes. "Get out!" he snarls, his voice shaking with rage. But I'm not done yet. I reach into the folder and pull out the photos, spreading them out on the table for everyone to see. There's no denying it now, no way to spin the truth. It's all there, laid bare for everyone to see. Her mother gasps, her hand flying to her mouth, while her father looks like he's about to explode. But I don't care about them. I only care about her, about seeing the look on her face as her world crumbles around her. She stands there frozen, tears streaming down her face. "Mark, I'm so sorry," she whispers, but I shake my head. "Sorry isn't enough," I say, my voice hard as steel. "You made your choice. Now you'll live with the consequences." The room erupts into chaos, her parents yelling, her lover trying to talk over them. But I tune it all out. My eyes are locked on hers and I see it. The moment she realizes it's really over. The moment she understands that there's no going back. I turn and walk out, leaving her standing there, broken and defeated. The satisfaction I thought I'd feel never comes. Instead, there's only emptiness, a hollow ache that settles deep in my chest. But it's done. They've paid for what they did, and now I can move on. But as I drive away, the reality of what I've done starts to sink in. I've destroyed her, exposed her to her family, to the world. And in doing so, I've destroyed a part of myself too. The anger that fueled me is gone, leaving behind a cold, numb void. I thought revenge would bring me closure, but all it's done is leave me feeling more lost than ever. As the night closes in around me, I realize that there are no winners here, only survivors. And I'm not sure if I'm one of them. The moment I expose them, the room erupts into chaos. Her father's roar of rage echoes in my ears as he confronts her lover. The man's confident smirk falters as he realizes the gravity of the situation. Her mother sobs quietly, disbelief etched on her face. And my wife, standing there pale and trembling, looks like she's about to collapse. This is what I wanted, what I planned for. But the satisfaction I expected doesn't come. Instead, there's an emptiness, a hollow feeling that settles in my chest. "Get out!" her father yells, pointing a trembling finger at the man who's destroyed our lives. "Get out of my house and never come back." But the lover isn't going to leave without a fight. He straightens up, defiance flashing in his eyes. "You can't tell me what to do," he sneers, his voice dripping with arrogance. "She came to me. She wanted this." His words hang in the air like poison. My wife flinches as if he slapped her, her eyes wide with horror. I can see the shame and fear in her expression, but she's not the only one who's been humiliated. My fists clench at my sides, the urge to hit him overwhelming, but I hold back. This is his game, his attempt to provoke me, and I won't give him the satisfaction. "Leave," I say, my voice cold and steady. "Before this gets worse." He turns to me, a dangerous glint in his eyes. "What are you going to do, Mark? You think you've won?" This isn't over. There's a tension in the room, a crackling energy that could explode at any moment. I can feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me, waiting to see how I'll respond. But I don't need to say anything. My silence speaks louder than words. I won't stoop to his level, won't let him drag me down into the mud with him. This isn't about him anymore. It's about her, about what she's done to us. My wife's voice cuts through the tension, shaky and filled with desperation. "Please stop," she whispers, looking between the two of us. This isn't helping anyone, but it's too late for pleas or apologies. The damage is done, and there's no going back. Her lover takes a step toward me, his fist clenched, and for a brief moment, I think he's going to hit me. But then her father steps in, grabbing him by the arm and shoving him toward the door. "You hurt him! Get out!" her father barks, his voice filled with fury. The lover hesitates, his gaze flickering to my wife one last time before he turns and storms out of the house. The door slams behind him, the sound echoing in the silence that follows. I watch him go, a part of me relieved that it didn't come to blows, another part frustrated that I didn't get the chance to lay him out. Once he's gone, the reality of the situation settles in. The room is suffocating, filled with the weight of what just happened. My wife stands there shaking, tears streaming down her face. Her parents look at her like she's a stranger, like they don't recognize the woman standing before them. And maybe they don't. Maybe none of us do anymore. "I'm sorry," she whispers, her voice broken. "I'm so sorry." Her father glares at her, his voice cold as ice. "Sorry? Sorry doesn't begin to cover it, Jessica. How could you do this? How could you betray your husband, your family like this?" She tries to speak, but the words catch in her throat. She's drowning in guilt, in shame, and there's nothing she can say that will change what she's done. I want to feel pity for her, want to reach out and comfort her, but I can't. The anger, the betrayal is too raw, too fresh. I turn away, unable to look at her. I need to get out of here, need to breathe, need to think. Without a word, I walk out, leaving her sobbing in the living room with her parents. I don't care what they say to her, don't care how they handle this. All I know is that I need to be alone, to clear my head. Outside, the night air is cool, refreshing against my overheated skin. I walk down the driveway, my mind racing. I did what I set out to do. I exposed them, shattered the illusion they were trying to maintain. But now what? What comes next? I get into my car and sit there, gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my breathing. The adrenaline is still coursing through my veins, my heart pounding in my chest. I should feel victorious, but all I feel is exhausted, drained. The confrontation is over, but the battle isn't won. There's still so much to face, so many decisions to make. As I drive away from the house, my mind drifts to the future. What does this mean for us? Is there even an us anymore? I don't know. Part of me wants to forget it all, to leave her in this mess behind, to start fresh somewhere new. But another part of me, the part that still loves her, can't let go so easily. When I reach the hotel, I collapse onto the bed, staring up at the ceiling. The events of the night replay in my mind over and over until I can't take it anymore. I need to talk to her, need to understand why she did this, what she was thinking. But the thought of facing her again fills me with dread. I close my eyes, trying to shut out the world, but sleep doesn't come. My mind is too restless, too consumed by the what-ifs and the what now. I reach for my phone, my fingers hovering over her number. Should I call her? Should I wait? I don't know what the right move is anymore, but I can't wait. I need answers. I hit call, and the phone rings in my ear, each second dragging out like an eternity. Finally, she answers, her voice small, hesitant. "Mark?" I take a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "We need to talk." There's a long pause, and for a moment, I think she might hang up. But then she speaks, her voice trembling. "I know. I'm at my parents' house. Can you come over?" I hesitate, not sure if I'm ready to face her again, but I know this conversation can't wait. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. The drive back to her parents' house feels surreal, like I'm moving through a fog. I pull up to the house and see her standing on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, looking lost and broken. For a moment, I just watch her, the woman I've loved for so long, now a stranger to me. I get out of the car, and as I walk up to her, she looks up at me, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Thank you for coming," she whispers. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. She opens the door and I follow her inside, back to the living room where everything fell apart just hours ago. Her parents are nowhere to be seen, probably hiding in their room, too ashamed to face us. We sit on the couch, the silence stretching between us. I don't know where to start, what to say, but she does. "I'm so sorry, Mark," she says, her voice thick with emotion. "I never meant for any of this to happen. I never meant to hurt you." The words sting, but I keep my voice steady. "Then why did you do it? Why him?" She looks down at her hands, twisting the blanket nervously. "I don't know. I was lonely, I guess. You were always working, always busy, and I felt like we were drifting apart. He was there, and he made me feel wanted. Her words cut deep, but I forced myself to listen. So you cheated because you felt lonely? She shakes her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. It's not that simple. I know it sounds like an excuse, but I was lost, Mark. I didn't know how to fix things between us, and instead of trying, I ran away. I'm not proud of it. I hate myself for it. I lean back, rubbing my temples. And what about him? What was he to you? She shudders, as if the thought of him repulses her now. It wasn't love. It wasn't even real. It was just a distraction, something to fill the void I felt inside. I want to believe her, want to believe that this was just a mistake, a lapse in judgment, but the betrayal is too fresh, too painful. Do you love me? I ask, my voice raw. She looks up at me, her eyes filled with desperation. Yes, Mark, I do. I never stopped loving you. Her words hang in the air, and for the first time I see the depth of her regret, her sorrow. But is it enough? Can we really move past this? I don't know. My heart and my head are at war, each pulling me in different directions. I don't know if I can forgive you, I admit, my voice barely above a whisper. She flinches but nods, accepting my words. I understand. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm begging you to give us a chance. Let me prove to you that I can be better, that we can be better. I look at her, the woman I've shared my life with for so many years, and I see the cracks in her armor, the vulnerability she's trying so hard to hide. And despite everything, despite the pain and the anger, there's a part of me that wants to believe her, that wants to give us a chance, but I can't make that decision now. I need time, space to think, to process everything. I need to be alone, I say, standing up. I need to figure out what I want. She nods, tears streaming down her face. I understand. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, waiting, hoping that you'll come back to me. I leave the house, the weight of the night pressing down on me. I don't know what the future holds, don't know if we can ever repair the damage that's been done. But I do know one thing. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. As I drive back to the hotel, my mind races with possibilities. Do I stay and try to rebuild what we had? Or do I walk away and start fresh, leaving her and the memories behind? The questions swirl in my mind, but the answers elude me. The only thing I'm certain of is that the road ahead is going to be long and painful. But I'm ready to face it, ready to confront the demons that have been unleashed. This is just the beginning, and I have no idea where it will end. When I reach the hotel, I don't go inside. Instead, I sit in the car, staring out at the darkened sky, my thoughts a jumbled mess. There's no easy way forward, no clear path to follow. But one way or another, I'll find my way through this. I have to. The days after the confrontation are a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and cold, hollow silences. I've made up my mind. We need to separate. It's the only way I can think straight. The only way I can regain some semblance of control over my life. The lawyer I hired is efficient, almost mechanical in his approach. He lays out the steps we need to take, and I nod along, barely listening. My mind is elsewhere, trapped in a loop of memories and what-ifs. When I tell her that I'm filing for separation, she doesn't cry. She doesn't scream or beg me to reconsider. She just looks at me with those tired, bloodshot eyes, nodding slowly, as if she's been expecting this all along. Mark, please, just let me explain, she starts, but I cut her off. There's nothing to explain, Jessica. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. But it was a mistake, she says, her voice cracking. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was lonely, desperate. You have to believe me. I want to believe her. God, how I want to believe that this was just some momentary lapse in judgment, that we can somehow fix this. But the images of her with him, the cold, calculated way she lied to me for months, it's all too much. A mistake, I repeat, my voice thick with anger and hurt. Jessica, this wasn't just a one-time thing. You carried on with him for months, lied to my face every day. How can I trust anything you say now? She flinches at my words, her hands trembling as she tries to reach for me, but I pull back. I can't bear to be touched by her. Not now. Maybe not ever. I know I hurt you, she whispers, tears sliding down her cheeks. But I love you, Mark. I've always loved you. Please, let's try to work this out. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. Just don't leave me. Her words, her desperation. It should move me, should make me want to hold her, to tell her we'll find a way through this. But all I feel is numb. I stare at her, wondering if I'll ever see her the same way again. We need time apart, I finally say, my voice cold and distant. I need time to think, to figure out if there's anything left between us worth saving. She opens her mouth to argue, but I can see the fight draining out of her. She knows this isn't something she can talk her way out of. Okay, she whispers, wiping at her tears. Okay. I'll give you the space you need. But please, Mark, don't shut me out completely. Let me show you that I'm still the woman you fell in love with. I don't respond. I can't. The woman I fell in love with feels like a stranger to me now, someone I can't recognize through the fog of betrayal. The next few weeks are agonizing. We live in the same house but in different worlds. I move into the guest room, a stark reminder of the chasm between us. We barely speak, and when we do, it's brief, stilted, as if we're both afraid that saying too much will break whatever fragile peace we've managed to maintain. I throw myself into work, staying late at the office just to avoid coming home. My colleagues notice the change in me, but they don't ask questions. They probably assume it's just the stress of the job, and I let them think that. It's easier than explaining the truth, easier than admitting how much my life has unraveled. But even with all the distractions, the pain is still there, gnawing at me, refusing to let go. Every time I see her, every time I catch a glimpse of her in the hallway or hear her moving around the house, it's like a knife twisting in my gut. The woman I once shared everything with is now just a painful reminder of what I've lost. One night after another long day at work, I come home to find her sitting on the couch, a stack of papers in front of her. She looks up when I enter, her eyes red-rimmed and exhausted. I've been thinking about what you said, she begins, her voice hoarse from crying, about needing time apart. And I agree. Maybe some space will help us figure out what we want, what we need. I stand there unsure of what to say. I didn't expect her to agree so easily. Part of me wanted her to fight, to push back. But maybe this is better. Maybe it's what we both need. I've already started looking for a place, she continues, her voice trembling. Just a small apartment nearby. I'll move out in a few days, give you the space you need. I nod slowly, trying to process what she's saying. This is it then, the beginning of the end. If that's what you think is best, I say, my voice flat. She looks down at her hands, twisting the ring on her finger, a symbol that now feels like a cruel joke. I don't want this, Mark, she whispers. But I'll do whatever it takes to make things right, even if that means giving you time to figure out what you want. I don't respond, don't know how to respond. She's doing the right thing, but it doesn't make it any easier. I leave her sitting there and retreat to the guest room, closing the door behind me. I lean against it, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. I thought this would be the solution, that time apart would help me sort through my feelings, but all it's doing is making the pain more acute, more real. The next few days are a whirlwind of activity. She packs her things quietly, methodically, as if she's trying to avoid disturbing me. I stay out of her way, burying myself in work, trying to ignore the growing sense of dread that comes with knowing she's leaving. Despite everything, the thought of her being gone fills me with a strange, hollow ache. Finally, the day comes. I watch as she loads the last of her boxes into the car. She turns to me, her eyes filled with tears, and I can see the fear there, the uncertainty of what comes next. I'll still be around, she says softly, as if trying to reassure herself as much as me. I'm not disappearing. If you need anything, if you want to talk, I'm here. I nod, unable to find the words. We stand there in silence, neither of us knowing how to say goodbye. Eventually, she steps closer, hesitating before reaching out to touch my arm. The contact is brief, but it's enough to send a jolt through me, a reminder of what we once had. "I love you, Mark," she whispers, her voice breaking. "I know I've made mistakes, but that hasn't changed. I just, I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me one day." I swallow hard, the lump in my throat making it difficult to speak. "I don't know if I can," I admit, my voice barely audible. She nods, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I understand." And with that, she turns and gets into the car. I watch as she drives away, feeling like a part of me is leaving with her. When she's finally out of sight, I let out a shaky breath, the weight of everything crashing down on me. I'm alone now, truly alone, and the realization is almost too much to bear. The first few days after she leaves are unbearable. The house feels empty, like a tomb, filled with memories that haunt me at every turn. I keep expecting to see her, to hear her voice, but all I'm met with is silence. I wander through the rooms, aimless and lost, not knowing what to do with myself. I should feel relieved, should feel like I can finally breathe, but all I feel is emptiness. The space I thought I needed only serves to amplify the loneliness, the pain of what's been lost. I try to distract myself, throwing myself into work even more, but nothing seems to help. I'm drowning, and I don't know how to save myself. It's late one night, after another restless attempt at sleep, when I finally break. The weight of everything becomes too much, and I find myself reaching for my phone. My fingers hover over her number, my mind warring with itself. I shouldn't call her, shouldn't reach out, but the need to hear her voice is overwhelming. I hit call before I can stop myself. The phone rings once, twice, and then she answers. "Mark?" Her voice is soft, cautious, as if she's afraid of what I might say. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "I can't do this," I admit, my voice trembling. I thought I needed space, but all it's doing is making everything worse. There's a long pause, and I can hear her breathing on the other end, the sound both comforting and painful. "I feel the same way," she finally says, her voice thick with emotion. "I miss you, Mark. I miss us." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut, the reality of what we've lost sinking in. "I don't know if we can fix this," I confess, my voice cracking, "but I don't want to give up without trying." "I don't either," she replies, a hint of hope in her voice. "If there's even a chance, I want to fight for it. For us." I close my eyes, the tears I've been holding back finally spilling over. "I want to fight too," I whisper. "I just don't know where to start." "We start by talking," she says gently. "By being honest with each other. By admitting that we're both scared and hurt. We start by trying." Her words offer a small glimmer of hope, a light in the darkness that's consumed me. It's not much, but it's something. "Okay," I say, my voice barely above a whisper. "Let's try." The next few weeks are tentative, filled with awkward conversations and painful admissions. We talk more than we have in years, laying everything out on the table. Our fears, our regrets, our hopes. It's not easy. Every conversation feels like walking through a minefield, one wrong step away from disaster. But we keep going, keep talking, because we both know that if we stop, it's over. There are moments of hope, moments where I catch a glimpse of the woman I fell in love with, the woman I thought I'd lost. But there are also moments of doubt, moments where the pain and anger rear their ugly heads, threatening to tear us apart all over again. One night, after a particularly intense conversation, she reaches out and takes my hand. The touch is tentative, unsure, but it sends a shock of warmth through me, a reminder of what we once had. "I'm scared, Mark," she admits, her voice trembling. "I'm scared that we're just fooling ourselves, that this is all just going to end in more pain." "I'm scared too," I confess, squeezing her hand. "But I'd rather try and fail than not try at all." She looks at me, her eyes searching mine for any sign of doubt. "Do you really mean that?" I nod, my heart pounding in my chest. "I do. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to find out. With you." For the first time in what feels like forever, she smiles. A small, hesitant smile, but a smile nonetheless. Then let's keep trying, she says softly. One day at a time. And so, we do. It's not easy, and it's far from perfect, but it's a start. We take it one day at a time, rebuilding the trust that was shattered, slowly finding our way back to each other. The road ahead is long and uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like we might just make it. As I lie in bed that night, her hand resting in mine, I realize that this is what I've been searching for. Not just forgiveness, but a chance to start over, to build something new from the ashes of what we once had. It won't be easy, and it won't be quick, but it's a chance. And for now, that's enough. Therapy is not something I ever imagined myself doing, especially not for this. But here I am, sitting in a sterile room with soft lighting, a box of tissues on the coffee table between us. Jessica sits across from me, her hands folded in her lap, eyes downcast. The therapist, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a calm voice, watches us both, waiting for someone to speak. The silence is suffocating. I can feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy. This is supposed to help us, to rebuild the broken pieces of our marriage, but all I feel is exposed, vulnerable in a way that makes my skin crawl. So, Mark, the therapist says, breaking the silence, why don't we start with what brought you both here? I look at Jessica, but she's still staring at her hands as if they hold the answers to all our problems. I take a deep breath, trying to find the words, but they're tangled up in the anger and hurt that's been festering inside me for months. Infidelity, I finally say, my voice flat. She cheated on me with someone I trusted. Jessica flinches at my words, her shoulders hunching as if she's trying to make herself smaller. The therapist nods, her expression neutral, but I can see the sympathy in her eyes. And how has that affected you? She asked gently. I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. How hasn't it affected me? It's like my whole life was turned upside down in an instant. Everything I thought I knew, everything I believed in, it was all a lie. Jessica finally looks up at me, her eyes brimming with tears. It wasn't all a lie, Mark. I made a terrible mistake, but I never stopped loving you. Love? The word feels foreign on my tongue, almost meaningless. How can you say you love me when you were with him? I was lost, she whispers, her voice trembling. I was lonely and scared, and I made the worst decision of my life, but I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to destroy us. Her words hang in the air, heavy with regret, but I'm not ready to let go of my anger. Well, you did, I snap. You destroyed everything, and now you expect me to just, what? Forgive you? Pretend like it never happened? No, she says, her voice barely audible. I don't expect that. I know I have to earn your trust back, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but I need you to understand that I'm sorry, that I would take it all back if I could. The therapist intervenes, her voice calm and steady. Mark, it's clear that you're still in a lot of pain, and that's completely understandable. Trust is one of the hardest things to rebuild after it's been broken. But the fact that you're both here, willing to talk, is a good sign. It means there's still something worth fighting for. I don't respond. I'm not sure there is anything left to fight for, but the truth is, I don't know how to let go either. Part of me wants to believe that we can get through this, that we can somehow find our way back to each other. But another part of me is terrified that this will never go away, that the betrayal will always be there, lurking in the shadows. The therapy sessions continue, week after week. We talk about the affair, about the lies and the pain, but we also talk about us, about who we were before everything fell apart. There are moments when I see a glimmer of hope, when I remember why I fell in love with her in the first place. But then the memories come crashing back, and the anger returns, a relentless tide that pulls me under. Jessica is trying, I can see that. She's patient, understanding, willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. But no matter how hard she tries, there's a wall between us, a barrier that I'm not sure we can ever break down. One night, after a particularly grueling session, we're sitting in the living room, the silence between us almost unbearable. I can feel her watching me, waiting for me to say something, but I don't know what to say. I'm exhausted, mentally and emotionally drained, and all I want is to escape, to find some peace. I can't keep doing this, I finally say, my voice barely above a whisper. Jessica looks at me, her eyes wide with fear. What do you mean? I mean, I can't keep reliving this over and over again, I say, rubbing my temples. Every time we talk about it, every time we go to therapy, it's like ripping open a wound that never heals. Her face crumples and she bites her lip, trying to hold back the tears. So what are you saying? Do you want to stop? Do you want to give up on us? I don't know, I admit, my voice cracking. I want to move on, to find some way to be happy again. But I don't know if I can do that with you. Every time I look at you, I see him. I see what you did and it kills me. She reaches out to touch my hand, but I pull back, the pain too raw. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, I whisper, the admission like a dagger to my heart. Jessica's tears spill over, and she covers her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I feel a pang of guilt, a small voice in the back of my mind telling me that I'm being too harsh, that I'm pushing her away when all she wants is to make things right. But the anger, the betrayal, it's too overwhelming. The days pass in a blur, each one blending into the next. I go through the motions, trying to find some sense of normalcy, but it's impossible. The memories are always there, gnawing at me, a constant reminder of what I've lost. Then one evening, the phone rings. I answer it, my heart sinking when I hear his voice on the other end. Her lover, the man who tore my life apart. Mark, he says, his tone smug, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about, I snap, my hand gripping the phone so tightly it hurts. Oh, I think there is, he replies, his voice dripping with arrogance. You see, Jessica might think she can forget about me, but I'm not done with her, not by a long shot. His words send a chill down my spine, a cold dread settling in my gut. Stay away from us, I warn, my voice low and dangerous. I'm not going to say it again. He laughs, a cold, mocking sound. Or what? You think you can just get rid of me that easily? Jessica and I, we have unfinished business. And I'm not going anywhere until I get what I want. The call ends, but his words linger, filling me with a sense of dread I can't shake. I don't tell Jessica about the call. I don't want to scare her, don't want to give her any more reasons to worry. But deep down, I know this isn't over. He's not going to let us move on, not without a fight. The next few days are tense, the threat of his return hanging over us like a dark cloud. I find myself looking over my shoulder, waiting for him to show up, to make good on his threats. I'm on edge, my nerves stretched to the breaking point. And then one night, he does show up. I'm in the kitchen washing dishes when I hear a noise outside. My heart skips a beat, and I grab a knife from the drawer, my pulse racing. I creep to the window, peering out into the darkness. At first, I see nothing, just shadows and the faint glow of the streetlights. But then I see him, standing by the fence, his eyes fixed on the house. My blood boils, the anger I've been trying to suppress bubbling to the surface. I storm outside, the knife clenched in my hand. He doesn't move, doesn't flinch, just stands there, a smug smile on his face. This is your last warning, I say, my voice shaking with rage. Get the hell out of here and never come back. He steps closer, his smile widening. Or what, Mark? You're going to stab me? Go ahead, do it. See where that gets you. I'm trembling, every muscle in my body screaming for release, for violence. But I don't move. I can't. Because deep down, I know he's right. Violence won't solve anything. It will only make things worse. He sees the hesitation in my eyes and laughs. That's what I thought. You're not going to do anything, are you? You're too weak, too scared. Get out, I repeat, my voice barely more than a whisper. He takes another step forward, his eyes darkening. You don't get it, do you? This isn't over. It will never be over. But then something changes. I see a flash of headlights, the sound of a car door opening, and then Jessica is there, standing between us. She looks at him, her eyes blazing with anger. "Leave now," she says, her voice cold as steel. For a moment, he just stares at her, his expression unreadable. But then slowly, he backs away, his smile fading. "This isn't over," he says one last time, before turning and disappearing into the night. Jessica turns to me, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. "Are you okay?" she asks, her voice trembling. I nod, but I don't feel okay. I feel shattered, like everything is falling apart again. But I also feel something else, a sense of clarity, of resolve. He might not be done with us, but I'm done with him. I won't let him destroy what's left of my life. We go back inside, the tension still thick in the air. Jessica doesn't say anything, and neither do I. But as we sit there in the silence, I realize something. The scars he left on our marriage, they'll never fully heal. But we survived this. We're still standing, still together. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. I sit alone in the dim light of our living room, the silence thick around me. The echoes of the past few months swirl in my mind, a constant loop of what we've been through, what I've been through, the therapy sessions, the confrontations, the countless sleepless nights. It's been a journey through hell, and I'm not sure we've made it out the other side yet. Jessica is upstairs, asleep, or at least pretending to be. She's been trying so hard to make things right, and I can see the toll it's taking on her, on both of us. There are moments when I think we're going to make it, when I feel like maybe, just maybe, we can find a way back to each other. But there are other times when the doubts creep in, when I wonder if this wound will ever really heal. I can't stop thinking about what happened with him. The way he threatened us, the way he tried to worm his way back into our lives. It was a reminder of how fragile everything is, how easily it can all fall apart. But it was also a turning point, a moment where I realized that I'm done letting him control our lives. I'm done being a victim. I get up and walk to the window, looking out at the darkened street. The house feels different now, quieter, almost peaceful. The threat he posed is gone, but the scars he left behind remain. I know I'll carry them with me for a long time, maybe forever. But I've made my peace with that. They're a part of me now, a reminder of what I've survived. The question is, where do we go from here? I've been thinking about that a lot lately. What does the future look like for us? Can we really move past this, build something new out of the wreckage? Or are we just fooling ourselves, trying to hold on to something that's already gone? There's no easy answer. Every time I try to imagine a future without her, it feels wrong, like I'm cutting out a part of myself. But staying together isn't easy either. There's still so much pain, so much anger simmering beneath the surface. I see it in her eyes, feel it in the way she tenses when I get too close. We're both still walking on eggshells, afraid to push too hard, to say the wrong thing and shatter the fragile peace we've managed to build. But there's also love. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and the lies, I still love her, and I know she loves me. It's not the same as it was before, but it's real, and it's enough to keep us trying. I turn away from the window and head upstairs, moving quietly so I don't wake her. When I reach our bedroom, I stand in the doorway for a moment, watching her sleep. Her face is peaceful, the lines of worry smoothed away in the darkness. She looks like the woman I fell in love with all those years ago, the woman I promised to spend the rest of my life with. I slip into bed beside her, careful not to disturb her, but she stirs anyway, turning toward me, her eyes fluttering open. "Mark?" she murmurs, her voice thick with sleep. "It's okay," I whisper, reaching out to take her hand. "Go back to sleep." She nods, but her grip on my hand tightens, as if she's afraid to let go. I lie there beside her, feeling the warmth of her body next to mine, the steady rise and fall of her breath. It's a small comfort, but it's enough to ease the tension that's been coiled in my chest all night. As I lie there, I think about the future, about what it might look like if we stay together. It won't be easy. There will be days when the pain feels too raw, when the memories of what happened threaten to pull us apart. But there will also be good days, days when we remember why we chose each other in the first place, when we find joy in the little things that make up a life together. I'm not naive. I know we can't go back to the way things were. Too much has changed, too much has been broken. But maybe we can build something new, something different, a relationship that's stronger because of what we've been through, because we've faced our demons and come out the other side. It's not going to be perfect. We're both going to make mistakes, and there will be times when we hurt each other again. But I think we're both willing to put in the work, to keep fighting for what we have. Because at the end of the day, love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other. Even when it's hard, even when it hurts. I tighten my grip on Jessica's hand, feeling a sense of resolve settle over me. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I want to face it with her. I'm not ready to give up on us. Not yet. The next morning we wake up together, the sunlight filtering through the curtains. There's a sense of peace in the air, a quiet understanding that we're in this together, for better or for worse. We don't need to say anything. The silence between us is comfortable, a sign that we're finally starting to heal. As we go about our day, I catch glimpses of the woman I fell in love with, the woman who's been by my side through everything. And I realize that I'm still in love with her, that despite everything, my feelings for her haven't changed. They've been tested, pushed to the limit, but they're still there, stronger than ever. That night, as we sit together on the couch, I turn to her and take her hand. "Jessica," I say, my voice steady, "I want to keep trying. I want to build a future with you." She looks at me, her eyes shining with hope. "I want that too, Mark. I want it more than anything." We sit there for a long time, holding each other, letting the weight of the past fall away. It's not gone, not completely, but it's no longer the shadow that hangs over us. We've faced it, and now we're ready to move forward. In the weeks that follow, we start to rebuild our lives. It's not easy. There are still moments of doubt, still days when the pain feels too fresh, but we're making progress. We talk more, really talk, about our fears, our hopes, our dreams for the future. We start to find joy in the little things again, in the simple act of being together. The scars are still there, and they always will be, but they don't define us anymore. We're more than the sum of our mistakes, more than the hurt we've caused each other. We're two people who've been through hell and come out the other side stronger, more resilient, and more committed to each other than ever before. As the months go by, I start to feel a sense of peace, a sense of hope for the future. We're not perfect, and we never will be. But we're together, and that's enough. One evening, as we're sitting on the porch watching the sun set, I turn to her and smile. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" She nods, a soft smile playing on her lips. "We have, and I'm so glad we didn't give up." "Me too," I say, squeezing her hand. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I want to face it with you." She leans her head on my shoulder, and we sit there in silence, watching the sky turn from orange to pink to deep purple. It's a moment of quiet contentment, a moment that feels like a promise of better days to come. As the stars start to appear in the sky, I realize that I'm no longer afraid of the future. We've faced our darkest moments, and we've come out stronger. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together, hand in hand. And that's enough for me.